Hello everyone, welcome back to this video. In this video, I will be showing you how to import your data from SQL Server into Power BI Desktop. To import your data, first we need to open a new Power BI window. So you open a new Power BI workbook and at the top of your screen here, you select SQL Server. So here, you need to provide the name of your server as well as the name of your database. The name of your database is optional, but you have to provide your server name to be able to connect to SQL Server. For your server name, so you go back to your SQL Server Management Studio. And here in this Connect Server dialog window, your server name is this one right here in this drop-down box. So if you have another server you want to connect to, if you know the name of the server, you can just type in the name of the server you want to connect to. But for me, this is the name of my server, the name of the server I want to connect to. And so I will be copying this. Then you go back to your Power BI and just paste the name of your server. The database name is optional. You don't have to provide it. However, I will just type in my database. So there are two data connectivity mode for SQL Server. You have the imports and you have the direct query. I'll be importing all of the data for product table, the order, the customers table, the sales personnel table. I'll be importing all of that because we need all of the data. Click on OK. And in this dialog window here, you have the list of all the tables in your Stylescape DB. You have everything displayed here. So for this, I will be selecting just the customers table, the products table, the personnel table, and the store table. This is because we need all of the data in the Stylescape, in the customers, product, sales personnel, and the store table. So you click on transform. And then what I want to see is if all of my data sets are all in the proper or in the appropriate format in which I need it to. I also want to check if there are any data transformations I might need to perform on these data sets. So I'm going to check the customer ID column, which looks okay. So every of this column looks okay. And I'm just going to check for the product table as well. For the product table, I want the product ID to be a text because I'm not performing any calculations on it. And then I'm going to rename the product table so it's more descriptive, calling it products. I'll rename the customers table as well, calling this customers. So let's check the sales personnel table. For the sales personnel, I'm going to convert this to text because I'm not performing any calculation on this as well. I'm also going to convert the store ID to text. I need the date column to be a date. It's currently a text. So I'm going to convert that also. And lastly, I'm just going to rename this table so it's more descriptive. So moving to the store table as well. For the store table, I'm going to change this to text as well. So this looks okay. The next thing I'm going to do is to bring in my orders dataset. So to do that, I'm going to click on new source here and then select SQL Server. So here I'm going to copy my database name here, and also I'm going to copy my server name as well. So like I said earlier, to copy your server name is this name you have here. So I'll copy my server name and also paste it here. So I'm going to click on advanced options. To the advanced option, when you click on advanced option, this is where you get the option to type in the query that you want to use to import your data set. So if you don't want to import the entire table, maybe you just want to import a subset of the data sets which you have queried or you must have transformed, you bring in your query here. So I'm going to open my SQL Server and then just copy this query that we wrote earlier here and paste it. Okay, this looks okay. I'm going to click on OK. So I have the table loaded here and I'm going to just click OK. Few things I'm going to check in this data as well, just like we did for the previous data. The first thing I'm going to do is to rename this. I'm going to be calling this orders, and then I'll check the other dates column, the other columns in the data set if they are all in the appropriate format I want them to be. So I'm going to convert this to just dates. I don't need a date time format. Then for the product ID, we're going to change this to text as well. The customer ID looks okay. The personnel ID should be a text. We're going to check the other IDs. So this should be a text as well. The quantity should be an integer, whole number. And I'm just going to leave the sales amount as it is right now. So this is all for the data transformation. So I'm going to click on close and apply to bring the data set fully into Power BI desktop. Now I have my data set fully imported into Power BI desktop. Next thing we want to do is to detect relationship and establish our data model. So in the data model, we're going to establish relationship, detect the existing relationship, and then establish new ones as we are required. So we have a relationship from customers to orders on the customer ID. We have a relationship from store to orders on the store ID. We also have a relationship from sales personnel to orders, and we have a relationship from orders to products. So I'll be deleting this relationship as we do not need it. Now that we have our data model established, we go back to the report view. We go back to the report view, and from here, we are going to build our reports. Before we proceed, the next thing we need to do is to create our date table. We don't have a date table given to us in data, so we would have to create a date table in DAX. To create our date table, we come to the table view, and when you come to the table view, at the top here, you click on new table. So here we're going to call our date table dates. To create our date table, we're going to be creating our date table and calling it date table, and also adding some columns which we will be needing in our date table. So first, we're going to calculate the minimum dates in our sales dates, and we're going to calculate the maximum dates in our sales dates. We're going to calculate the minimum dates using the min function to calculate the sales order date, the minimum sales order date, and we're going to define a variable called max dates to calculate our maximum dates in our sales order table. And after that, we're going to calculate the latest week number in we're going to calculate the latest week number in our sales table. So we define a variable to calculate the latest week number using this function. So the latest week number, which is the latest week number, will be calculated using this function, the week num, and we are going to pass two parameters, the max date and 2. So we define the third variable, week number. The third variable here will calculate the latest week number. We are going to calculate the latest week number from the maximum dates. So we want to generate what the week number for the maximum date is, the latest week number. And we're going to pass a parameter here and an argument here. We're going to add 2 here. The 2 here indicates that the week starts on a Monday. By default, every new week starts on Sunday when you're calculating the week number. But so that if the week number can start on Monday, and then the beginning of a new week begin on Monday instead of Sunday, we have to pass this argument here, which is 2. Next, we need to return a value for our date table. To return a value, I'm just going to go ahead and paste the code. So we're going to add columns, and which we're going to pass to the return function. We're going to add the following columns to calculate. We're going to generate dates between the minimum date in our date table and the maximum date, and we're going to add 6 different columns. We're going to add a year column. We're going to add the month name. We're going to add a week number, a weekday. We're going to add a weekday name, and we are going to add another conditional column called its latest week. So what this line of code is doing is that it's going to check, since we are importing data for 2 different weeks. So this function is saying that check the week number in the dates and check if that is the latest week. By latest week, we mean, is that the current week? Is that the most recent week in our data? If it's the most recent week, if the date falls in the most recent week, then you return 1. If the date falls in a previous week, then you return 2. So I'm going to hit enter for this DAX measure and for this DAX calculation, and you'll see what the results look like. So now that we have created our date table, we can see this is what the result is. So we used the calendar function in our DAX. In our DAX calculation, we use the calendar function to generate a continuous list of dates from the minimum dates which we define in this variable to the maximum dates which we defined in this variable. And then we return about 6 different attributes using the add columns to return different attributes of dates that we actually need. We return the year column, return the month name for each of these dates. We return the week number. The week number is the week, this particular date. Each of these dates falls within a year. the weekday, returns an integer. So it returns an integer from 1 to 7, with one being Monday, 2 being Tuesday, 3 Wednesday, 4 Thursday, up to 7, which is Sunday. And then we use this to also calculate the latest week. So here we have the is latest week column, which checks for, so according to our data, the maximum date is 1st of October 2023. So for every of the dates that falls within the last week in the data set, we return 1, which shows that it is true. And for every of the dates that falls within the previous week of the data set, we return 0. So we'll be seeing how we will be using each of this column. I will be using each of this column for our calculations.